So one of the things that I was going to go over, because one of the things that we do at Grata Software is when we work with new companies, we go through the process of determining whether their product is actually going to make it in the market space, and how we do that is we actually do a couple analysis things. The first analysis that we do is called PESTEL, and so the PESTEL analysis is simply it's an acronym. It's PESTEL. And so the PESTEL analysis is the way to determine external factors in the industry that you're going to be running up against if you're building your new product or whatever. And so P, the first piece, or the P on top, stands for political. So these are, again, external factors. So what you want to look, is there any political things that are going on that are going to affect the market you're going into or the industry you're going into? For instance, new laws that are being passed. Also, any types of legislation that is already in place. The other thing to look at is politics in general. As far as who's the president, who are your senators, and all that kind of stuff, and kind of gauge how that kind of affects politics in general affect your your idea and what it is you're about to launch. The first E stands for economics. Now this could be interchangeable. Some people will say E is for environmental, or economics, but I'll go with economics first. So the economic factors that are currently out there, for instance, job losses, minimum wage, like these are kind of economic things that are happening out there in the industry, in the market space. And so you have to look at how economics is going to affect the idea that you have. If you have a product you're about to launch, it costs $300 a month. You have to think about the economics of it. Is that feasible for someone to jump in and purchase your product for that amount of money? So you have to think about that. S stands for social. Okay, this is like social aspects that affect how people are going to buy your product, or if they're going to buy your product. For instance, one of the hot things obviously is mobile applications and mobile gaming. So if you're coming up with a product that has to do with some type of mobile gaming, then from a social perspective, you're good. Because right now social gaming is a huge deal, and so social means things that are happening out there from a society point of view. If people, trends, education, things like that, things in society that are happening that may trigger customers to come to your product. And so you can actually do some research and find out what is society like today. Like, for instance, lipstick. If you're coming out with a new lipstick, and let's say your lipstick has been tested on animals, or you're testing on animals, you have to think about, well, in society right now, the biggest issue people have, with PETA and all that kind of stuff is, is testing on animals a good thing? And most people who, if you're testing on animals, they're not going to buy your product because society right now is against that, right? There's a lot of, like the Me Too movement, right? If you have a product that kind of, is something that could potentially be seen as an offensive product to the Me Too movement, that's another societal situation that's going to affect the ability to get your product out there on the market. Now, I'm just throwing ideas out there. I'm not saying that we've run into some of these. I'm just saying that these are just ideas to think of. These are the only things I can think of off the top of my head. T stands for technical. This is kind of where our bag is, Grata Software specifically. So this is the technical aspects that are going on in the industry, what's out there from a technology perspective, cloud services, the ability to launch a full infrastructure and on demand, and actually scale up or trim down based on demand. That those are technical things that are happening today. That actually it's an external thing that's happening. Cloud services are being built, new technologies, new processors are being built. Faster computers are being built. So those are kind of things that you have to research, that technically, if your idea, is it going to be affected by the external factors that are happening in the technology, right? In technology industry. So it's technical, but you can also say technology in general. Sorry, my handwriting is horrible. Okay. E is the environment. We've already used economics. So environmental. Okay, so environmental, green. Everything's all about green stuff now, right? Green technology, green foods, green, all that kind of stuff. So environmental is anything externally in the environment that'll actually affect your business. For instance, if you're a company that manufactures products off of silver, then if there's less silver available in in whatever the minerals, then obviously that's going to affect your business. It's an external factor you have no control over, so you have to take a look at that, right? So that's environmental. The last one here, this is one of the hardest ones, is legal, because it could be law, it could be legislation, but legislation may fall under political, so this is where things can kind of get confused between legal and political. But legal really pertains to what are the laws out there currently that it may affect your business and in your industry. So, for instance, right now with all the things that are happening with Facebook and social media, if you're coming out with a company that you take data and you sell data, and that's your business, and that's the idea that you have, is maybe an application that's going to aggregate data from customers and sell it. Well, right now, the government is really pushing hard on trying to minimize the ability to do that, right, and pass laws that prevent you from doing that. So that's another thing you have to look at. In Europe, they passed the one regulation now, the one compliance regulation, where now you have 5 different things that you have to ask customers before you're able to share their data or use their data for anything. And so, and it was a big deal. And basically, it was actually good for us. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for some companies, that we had to come in and basically make sure that all of their websites and everything were compliant with the new regulation in Europe. Because the fines were hefty, and those were legal. Those are kind of legal things that are happening that you have to pay attention to when you're launching a new product. So now we have the idea here. Now this is just a short video. Again, this is just me testing, but this is a video. This is a short video of like what PESTEL is. PESTEL is the external. So when we look at PESTEL, we're looking at external factors. So we want to focus on external. Now, how do we know what to look for, and how do we know how to research this? Well, the best place to look for this stuff is so when you determine what business you have and how you're going to compete in the market space, go to the industry, or figure out the industry that you're going to be in. When you figure out that industry, there's an awesome place called Edgar Online. So Edgar, so it's EDGAR. So Edgar Online essentially provides what the annual reports for all the companies that are publicly traded. So you can, if you know what industry you're going into, and you know what company, let's say that's on the stock market that would be essentially a competitor, they may not be direct because you're just starting and they've already established, but you can find out from their industry by reading their 1K. So focus on 1K. That's the report we're looking for, 1K, right? Go to Edgar Online, type in the company that is your competitor essentially, and they're in your industry and selling similar products and services that you're going to. Go to Edgar Online, find that company, and look for their annual 1K report. So their annual 1K report is a very extensive report that these companies have to distribute for their investors. And this report will literally spell out all of the positives and negatives, and then all of the industry factors that we've actually mentioned here. They don't specify this is political, economical, whatever. You're going to have to read through it, and you're going to have to essentially pull out the information that you're looking for, and you'll find out. It'll be pretty obvious when you say, well, for instance, this 1K report for web.com, when web.com expanded, society, one of the things that they mentioned, that in the onset of WordPress sites and people, building new WordPress sites, and WordPress being 75% of the market space, they need to provide a way to make sure that they can service that level of customers on the web, right? Well, that's a social thing, right? Because in society, people who are building websites are going to WordPress, because WordPress allows you to basically launch a site within a day without very much skills in technology or design or anything, and they can launch a new website. So that's a societal thing that's happening. It's a change in society where instead of going and physically hiring a web designer or web developer to do it, people are changing the way they do things, and they're going to these prepackaged websites, right? That's the reason why you see all of these other companies out there like Squarespace and stuff like that, where they came out with their technology to help people build websites without having to know anything. And so that's a societal thing that forced some companies to come up with a new product and put it on the market. So, but you get that information. You can get that information by reading the 1Ks. Now, you can go the harder way, and the harder way is go through and read a bunch of articles, industry, publications, magazines, and all that kind of stuff, and gather all that information. But the cheating way and the fastest way to do it is you can go pull the 1Ks from all of these companies that are already in your industry, already selling to your kind of market space, and you can get an idea of exactly what they are doing and what are the complications they're running into, and they will specify all of the issues they're going to run into. And then what you'll have to do is you'll have to read several 1Ks. You can't just go to one, because one may give you some political factors, technological or environmental, but then the other one may give you economic, social, and the other ones, right? And what you want to do is you want to compile as much of all of that as possible, and then you summarize each one, right? And when you summarize each one, then you'll establish what are the external factors that are going to affect your idea and whether you can move forward. Now, that's the PESTEL. This is external factors. Now, the next thing is you need to find out is what is, how is the industry itself and the market itself, and if it's going to lend to it's going to have all of the factors for success. And so we'll go over that in the next video. It's called Porter's 5 Forces. And so in the next video, I'll go over Porter's 5 Forces, and that's a way that you can gauge whether the industry is a ripe industry to go into or ripe market to go into. Okay, so thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next video.